Are you ready?
Hit me.
Did you know that women under general anesthesia have received unauthorized, unconsented to pelvic exams?
Why?
It's not against the law. There are a lot of consents that allow for procedures for educational purposes. That's how they justify it. So if it's a teaching hospital, like a bunch of med students can come in and do a pelvic exam on a woman without her knowing.
Dude.
A 2023 survey of hospitals affiliated with medical schools found that nearly 20% of these pelvic exams did not explicitly obtain patient consent for the pelvic exam, which was done under general anesthesia. They're just now passing some legislation to make it illegal. They started passing it in 2019. In 2024, there was like a sweeping reform. They did it for prostate exams too.
Oh. Honestly, the one about women is absurd.
Why do you feel like that hits different just for you as a guy?
That is a very vulnerable and intimate area, Whereas a prostate exam, that's not really comfortable. And maybe it's because I've never experienced trauma as a man. It just feels like that is a different category of body part.
Of violation?
Yeah.
I was to say, you're putting stuff up your penis.
Right. See, that hits different.
That hits different.
Yeah. I feel like this, what you just told me, and in conjunction with previous things, does show me that there is not really equal protection under the law for women. The difference between equal and equitable.
Equal is everybody is treated exactly the same way.
Right. Okay. There should not be equal protection.
Equitable.
It should be equitable.
Is yes.
This stuff. This is getting me so mad because I can only imagine how I would feel if you or one of our girls was under general anesthesia, had this done without consent. I'd be furious.
Yeah.
I would probably do things that are not wise because I'd be so furious about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't make any legal...
No.
Whatever, because you signed a consent that usually buried in that consent for a procedure you're submitting to educational purpose. What, you can come in and observe the surgery? Sure, why not?
Right.
It's not educational as in we're going to do something completely unrelated.
And touch you.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a gynecological procedure.
Yeah.
It can just be a body.
You know what?
To practice on.
I'm not vindictive. The thought of this happening to you or happening to one of our girls, and that's where my head goes.
Yeah.
How furious I would be.
Yeah.
How many women do not have a partner or another support person that will advocate, do things even afterward in response for you. And so you're just left on your own to have experienced this thing. Or maybe you didn't know you experienced it and you find out years later about it. And then the trauma of, oh my God, I just can't. You're just left on your own to have experienced this thing. Then the trauma of, oh my God, I just can't.
Well, isn't it wild though, even with my credentialing as a registered nurse and you knowing basically nothing about medical stuff, the fact that your presence in a doctor's appointment, all of a sudden they listen a lot more. You have nothing. We're a mathematics teacher, but we go in and it's if you're with me, the demeanor's different. I want you to go to my cardiologist appointment, by the way.
Oh, I will go with you.
Just in general, doctors are so much more patient when you're asking questions than when I'm asking questions. They're saying, you know too much.
They've made up their mind when you're asking a question. When I ask a question, it seems like they actually think more about it.
Yeah, what is that? Well, I know what it is, but
I going to all of our kids.
You pretty much take care of the kids' doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
I've got something to tell you. They just did the first ever studies, massive studies on tampons. Okay, the things that go inside of you.
Yeah.
Okay, they found very concerning levels of arsenic and lead.
Lead. I don't really know much about arsenic, but it sounds bad by the name.
Well, it's poison.
Why in the world would those end up in tampons?
Well, also PFAS, for forever chemicals, so Teflon.
I just watched Dark Waters.
So why are we just now doing studies on this? Same thing with pads, with the PFAS. And they didn't even, those commercials where they're like, oh, so absorbent, da-da-da-da-da. They didn't actually start using real blood until like last year and found out, oh, we were off. It's not really all that absorbent. Yeah, because they can just get away with that crap. Also, everyone keeps asking me, do you know what the husband stitch is? Everyone keeps asking me, do you know what the husband stitch is?
Yes.
What is it?
All right, well, it's when, like if you tear during a vaginal birth, they stitch you a little snugger.
What do you think about that?
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. Are these yours?
I don't know whose those are.
Okay, well, they're left in the kitchen. If she wants that for herself for some reason, more power to you. But something tells me that's probably not why it's being done.
Yeah,
right?
Sometimes the husbands ask for it.
I knew that.
And sometimes OBs just do it and then they joke and say, I put an extra one in there for you.
Oh, I think I might have heard that, which is disgusting. Here, we're just gonna manipulate this woman's body for your sake.
Yeah.
Like, what the F?
Well, it's a whole culture, isn't it? I think you're safe in a hospital. You are not.
Just no consent.
But there's often also not consent for episiotomies and all kinds of stuff that happens in labor. Labor in general and pregnancy in general is probably the most uninformed consent condition that a woman could ever go through or experience. There's so much that's done without explicit consent. It's wild. It's wild.